What's up, guys? Nate Dog FPV here. Today we're going to be taking a look at this guy. New build, guys. So if you caught my last video, picked up a couple frames off Amazon for 26 bucks each. Got a Martian 3 clone, and this one is actually the Usmile UX5. But yeah, guys, 26 bucks off Amazon for the frame. I actually had all these components in another build not too long ago. Had a motor desync when I was like 200 feet up, smashed into the ground, broke the arms, or actually broke one of the arms, broke one of the motors also. So yeah, pretty much destroyed that build, guys. So I wanted to rebuild it. I liked the way it flew. I just wanted to, obviously needed a new frame to put it in. Didn't really want to spend 100 bucks on a frame or, you know, buy a really expensive one. So yeah, I checked out Amazon, saw some pretty cool ones for like I said, 26 bucks. So why not? You know, let's give them a shot. So here's the finished product, guys. So in this video, we're actually going to look at the, well, not necessarily the build process, more of like a transplant process. Because again, I had all this stuff wired up and pretty much ready to go in a different quad. Again, that one crashed, broke the arm, so I pretty much just took all the guts out of it and switched it over to this frame. Also changed out the motors, because again, I had one of the motors desync, so I think there were some issues with the motors that were on it. Actually, the same motors, these are the Samsung, DYS Samgook series 2400 kV motors. Again, I had these motors on the other build too, but I had actually used those motors previously on a 4-inch build, and I think that caused some problems with the motors. And again, I had a couple of them desync, so I pretty much just replaced all 4 motors with new ones. And again, we got the new frame here, the Usmile UX5. But yeah, guys, pretty much all the other guts came out of the other frame. But yeah, we've got an Axie antenna, we've got a Foxeer Pro camera, DYS F4 V2 flight controller, RXSR receiver, AKK FX2 VTX, got some SpeedX ESCs on there, and again the DYS motors. But yeah, guys, so far this thing has been flying awesome. It seems really durable. I really like it. Again, the frame seems strong. You know, the carbon was in good shape when it came. I did another video on, you know, just opening the frames and looking at them, so if you guys haven't seen that yet, definitely check it out. But yeah, so far I'm really happy with it. It flies well. I actually used this thing in a race yesterday. Actually took first place in the race, was very consistent with it. I actually did not crash one time for the entire race, which is kind of odd for me. But yeah, just, you know, flew consistently. But yeah, this thing flew like a dream. Frame was definitely solid. So yeah, so far so good, guys. So I'll plug it in real quick so you guys can kind of see what it looks like. So there you go with it powering up. So yeah, we've got the blue LEDs on the bottom of this one. I also have some of the blue LEDs wired to the flight controller also, that you can control through Betaflight on the top. So there's like a little board right here that mounts on top of the flight controller that has the LEDs too. So yeah, this thing definitely glows. Looks really cool flying. But yeah, guys, so far so good. Again, I flew it yesterday at a race. Really the first time I've flown this quad at all in this frame. And yeah, I took first place for the race. So overall, guys, I'm happy with the frame. So we're going to cut to the build video, so you guys can check that out. Again, it's more of a transplant video than a full build. But of course, if you guys have any questions or anything on the build process, just let me know. At the end, we'll throw in some flight footage. We'll just probably throw in like a heat from the race as well, so you guys can actually see it flying. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I would say don't be afraid to try the Amazon frames, or at least this one, the Usmile UX5. Because again, so far for me, it's been really good, and I'm loving it. Alright guys, hope you enjoy. We'll catch you on the next one.
Alright guys, so here we go with the transplant video. So like I said, these are the guts that were in my older quad that I crashed and broke an arm, so I had to scrap that frame. So we're going to be moving everything into the new frame from Amazon, the Usmile UX5. So here you can see I've taken off the Foxeer Pro camera, putting it off to the side. We're also going to be pulling off the AKK FX2 VTX. I'm going to put it over to the side for now. Alright guys, so here we go. We're going to work on getting the motors taken off. Again, these are the original motors. Again, I've had two of these desync, which was my own fault. Like I said, I used these on a 4-inch build and I'm pretty sure it just damaged the motors. 'Cause really these motors are designed for a 5-inch prop, not a 4-inch prop. So right now I'm just taking those off. I'm not going to be using these. I actually do have a new set to put on. Luckily those motors are actually only 10 bucks each, so not too bad to replace them. So there guys, I'm taking off the XT60 and I'm going to be measuring the new one here. The reason for that, this frame is shaped a little bit differently, so that XT60 that was on there was going to be too small. So here I'm just getting ready to put a new one on, kind of measuring it to see how long it needs to be. I'm just using a little bit of razor blade there to cut off the um, what's the word I'm looking for? Cut off the sheathing over it. So there guys, I just showed you my flux. So yeah guys, I use the water soluble flux you can get at Home Depot. Again, it just makes soldering so much easier, makes the solder stick so much better. So just flashing that up so you guys can see that. So I've got the XT60 tinned up now, so I'm going to go ahead and get it installed on the flight controller. So that looks good. Also worth noting, guys, that before I started the transplant process, I did plug this thing into Betaflight, make sure everything was still working, that you could still see movement when you move through a flight controller. Sometimes in a crash, you can damage the gyro, and at that point, the flight controller's toast. So if you do get into a situation like this where you're doing a transplant, I recommend checking that first. So here, guys, I'm working on putting a buzzer on. So I just looked at my instructions that came with the DYS F4 V2. To see where the buzzer pins are. So I've got those tinned up. Now I'm just soldering on the little buzzer leads. This little buzzer actually does come with this flight controller. I just didn't put it on in the original build because I didn't have a lot of room. And this one, luckily, I'm going to have more room, so I am going to use it. Of course, the place I crashed, the original one, was in some really deep grass too, and it took me a few minutes to find it, so buzzer will definitely be handy. There, guys, I'm just taking off a few extra wires and tinning up the ESCs to make sure they're ready for the new motors. Though those wires were actually on a motor that was on the arm that broke, and the motor actually bent and everything too, so I had already cut it off. I just cut the wires on that one. So here, guys, I'm putting tape on the arms of the frame. I like doing this just to make sure I don't have my ESCs shorting out on the carbon fiber or anything like that. So here you can see, guys, I've already went around and done the rest of them now and put the tape on. I've also put my flight controller screws in, so I like using some longer M3 screws. I think these are probably 25 or 30 millimeter. You can pick those up on Amazon if you don't have any. But yeah, I like mounting my stacks with the really long screws, and really it just helps make sure that everything is going to stay together. When you have a lot of plastic little standoffs holding stuff together in there, it can get loose, or things can come loose. So I prefer to do it with the longer screws. So we've got the flight controller on now, guys. I just put the RXSR is mounted right on top of the flight controller on a little flight controller protector. Now I'm getting the AKK FX2 put on the top. Again, on each one of these, I'm basically just adding some little plastic standoffs to separate them, and then just some little nuts on the top to hold them on. Alright, now last thing, guys, I'm working on mounting that LED to the top. Again, I picked this up from tinyleds.com. It has 5 LEDs on there. You can actually program them through your flight controller to be whatever color, or do whatever kind of pattern you want it to be. So I've got mine set up to be blue. There, guys, I was kind of comparing the original standoffs that came with the frame to the ones I'm going to be using. Since I'm using a micro camera, I can't actually use the original standoffs because the 3D printed mounts I have for that micro camera just need a straight standoff that doesn't have like the wider part to the skinnier parts. So that's why I'm just going to be using some regular black standoffs. Here, guys, I'm just testing to make sure the location of the VTX connector is going to be okay. So again, it looks like that's going to be good. So I'm going to go ahead and put the screws in now. in our top plate, and we'll go ahead and screw down that VTX SMA connector as well. Again, I'm going to be using a axis stubby on this one. Looks pretty cool in this frame and doesn't stick up too high, so it should work out pretty well. So there, guys, I'm showing you the motors that I'm going to be using. Again, these are the DYS Samgook 2400 kV. I've had really good luck with these guys, you know, again, outside of the ones I ran in the 4-inch, but that was my own fault because they shouldn't have been on a 4-inch quad anyway. But yeah, I've had good luck with the DYS motors, guys. They're only 10 bucks a piece. I really like them. I actually have all three different versions. So they have like a red one that's a bigger one and a purplish one that's a higher kV. So I actually have all three different ones. I've got another video on that, kind of comparing them if you guys want to check that out. But yeah, for 10 bucks a piece, guys, you can't beat it. And I mean, again, to me, the quality is just as good as, you know, motors that I've paid 20 bucks a piece for. So for what I'm using it for and for doing the racing that I'm doing, the $10 motors are working perfectly fine for me. And like I said, I just want to race with this quad too, so it's, you know, the speed is there. It can definitely keep up even though they're just $10 motors. So got that motor mounted, guys. Now you can see I've done the other four. So again, just soldered those to the ESCs and put the screws on them. So now, guys, I'm just plugging it in to make sure everything's working correctly. You can see my blue LEDs there, so those are going to be up under the arms, and I'll tape over the ESCs as well. We'll do that kind of off camera. So here, guys, I'm just checking to make sure everything's working, make sure we've got video. I'm going to go ahead and test the buzzer here. Going to go ahead and test arming as well. Make sure my motor direction is spinning correctly. So again, guys, because this was a transplant, you know, I really don't have to do the beta flight setup necessarily. Mainly just making sure everything's still working, you know, after the crash it was in. So luckily, guys, everything looks good. So at this point, we're just going to finish up getting the ESCs taped over. And like I said, I'm just going to zip tie the LEDs to the bottom of the arms with some clear zip ties. And that should be it for the build, guys. So I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you on the next one.